Night with her Royal Spyness. Right. So,
Yes, ma'am.
you guys are there. I will
Is there
return
a place where we sit here? We'll sit here. Okay. All right, we're all set.
I know mine's on. Are yours on? Are you on?
Jen, do you know the whole start thing? Maybe I need to do that.
I'm a terrible fill-in.
Here, hold this for me.
Yeah.
We should have talked. I ought to. I really thought. Are we?
Think in your mind.
Are we ready? Are we live?
Yeah.
We are live. Well, in that case, I knew I shouldn't have had that whole glass of wine, but there we are. All right. So thank you all very much for coming out on a rainy Tuesday night. I think it's very impressive, ladies, that this many people braved our weather, because Phoenicians are basically weather wimps. I know, and I say that having grown up in Chicago, where a little rain like this wouldn't have floored us. Anyway, virtual audience, thank you very much for joining us. It's very exciting to have a double book launch. So those of you who care about this kind of thing might want to ask the authors to date your books, because tonight is, in fact, publication day.
And then they'll be very
Or fun.
valuable, and you can live happily
Right.
ever after.
Super, super.
That's
You can
exactly
retire
right.
on them, basically.
So on that basis,
Thank you, ma'am. All right, I'll hold your seat. I'll keep it warm. Thank you all for coming. I'm super excited. I don't know how many of you know, but we are blog sisters, which is probably why I'm in the hot seat. But I have been a member of Jungle Red Writers, which is a crime fiction blog, and both Rhys and Julia were there before me. So do you guys want to say a little bit about Jungle Reds? And
Well, I think, the second most recent after you, and I've been there since 2011. And how about you, Rhys?
Well, I was before you. There were an original 6, I think, and then I was asked to join. I think 2 of the 6 dropped out, and probably about 2007, something like that. Yeah. But anyway, we are blog sisters, and we talk to each other every day, and we've saved millions in therapy bills.
yes, we have this. They're like my aunties, except for I'm also right there. I joined in 2017, and we should mention our other members because we should give a nod.
Yeah.
So our other sisters are Hallie Efron, Deborah Crombie, Hank Felipe Ryan, and Lucy Burdett.
Yeah.
Did I miss anybody?
that's
No,
all,
okay.
yeah.
And the blog, Jungle Red Writers, is live with new content 365 days a year, which, considering how busy, not me, because obviously I'm not spending my time writing, but these ladies are, is really pretty impressive. So stop by and see us. We have
We
fun.
have a lot of guest authors, so you can check out new people, hear where they get their ideas. I mean, it's a very vibrant
Every so
community.
often we have recommendations for books that we've read that we think you should read. And there's all
We
sorts
do.
of-
We like that.
yeah,
What we're
yeah.
reading is
What
a
we're reading, yeah.
stellar week
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
day. Anyway, so that was just. It's called Jungle Red Writers. We're not really sure where the name came from.
No. You know where the
It
rain came from.
The women jungle red nail polish.
Okay,
The,
actually,
wi-
yeah, I think
the
I got
women, the
some.
famous,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah,
famous play,
Yeah.
and then later movie. Yes,
Yeah, and
the
there's nail
movie, the hot color
Yeah.
that they were all getting was jungle red.
And I
Yeah.
think when I joined, I bought a bottle of NARS, which had Jungle Red.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
somewhere in my house. Anyway, onward to the celebration. We have a double header. I am so incredibly excited and proud of these ladies. Their writing is superb. They're funny. They're brilliant. They're amazing. And if you're not reading them, you should be. Anyway, Julia, let's start with you. Let's tell us about your series and tell us about this book.
It's been a while since I've done this. So this is the 10th book. At Midnight Comes a Cry is the 10th book in the Claire Ferguson, Russ Van Alstyne series. And I set my series in the Adirondack Piedmont of upstate New York, which is where my family comes from. They actually settled there in the 1720s and never really left for several members of it. So, it's this area that really resonates. It's very cold. It's very snowy. If you like to sit in your beautiful Arizona homes and look out at the bougainvillea, but also feel like you're actually getting winter, then you definitely will like my books because you're going to get the whole winter experience in there. And, I've got 2 main characters, the chief of police of the town of Miller's Kill and the town's Episcopal priest, who start out as sort of forbidden love, and over the course of the series become more, what would the opposite be? Bidden love, I guess. Okay, now you have to tell them about yours.
That's all you're going to say?
No, I figure I'll wait for questions. People will have questions.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the interesting thing that we have in common, the two of us, I was trying to think, what do we have in common? They're both mothers dealing with small babies.
Yes, that's true.
Now, a stupid thing you can do when you're writing a book is to give your main character a child or a dog. Either of those things are killer things to do, because if you have a dog and you have 20 pages that you write where you don't feed that dog or don't take it out, you will get letters saying you ignored that dog. But with a child, with a baby, you know, she's nursing this child. So anything that happens, she has to rush back home. So, I mean, what was I thinking? I mean, I should have invented birth control in the first book, and then we could. Anyway, so yes, she does have a baby. But she does not. She lives in this those of you who know the series, she lives in a very, very lovely big English mansion, which belongs to her godfather. And she has this baby. She does not have a nanny. And that's really required for her social class. And so the book starts off with a nanny arriving. And a little later I may read a little bit about the nanny arriving, because it's quite a shock. So that's how the book starts. So we'll go back to Julia and how your book starts.
So my book starts at an actual real life small town local lighted tractor parade. So there's a town called not Greenwich but Greenwich in upstate New York, and I know wince. But every year well over a decade now, they have this fantastic lighted tractor parade. The 4-H, does one, and the local, volunteer fire department does one. And at the end of the parade, of course, comes a float with Santa riding on a green John Deere. And I have a dear friend from elementary school, high school, who invited me. I was not actually aware of this because I've been living in Maine for decades. And she invited me to come and stay at her house because she has a big house party and you can watch it go by her front lawn. And I had this idea that I wanted my characters to be dealing with white supremacists and militia up in upstate New York, because surprisingly, there are a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on in New York and in other blue states where you wouldn't really think to see it. Yeah. It's way up there in the country. Yeah. And so I'm there, totally vibing, as the kids say, this parade, and it suddenly struck me, this is where the book starts. And it was just the whole first scene just fell right into my head at that moment. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. One other thing you have in common is you have long-running relationships. Mm-hmm. So you have a series, you have married couples. Yeah. How hard is that? Because it's not like, obviously we're writing mysteries, not romances, but once they're married, how much did their relationships change? How did it affect your writing?
Yeah, totally boring, huh? I mean, I think I really loved the first few books. That whole I hate him, no, I don't hate him, will they, won't they? I mean, that's a lot of fun. But then you can't carry it on forever. It has to resolve itself one way or another.
Well, unless you're Janet Ivanovich.
All right. Well,
okay.
But I mean, I think people who followed the series from the very beginning will have seen her meet what turns out to be the love of her life, and then it progresses, and then there's obstacles in the way, and then finally they get married. But then negotiating marriage with being a sleuth has its own difficulties, shall we say. And so I think it's interesting for people to see how these characters evolve and grow and mature and come to really appreciate the strengths in each other too. Mm-hmm.
I would have to agree with that. Over the course of, now 10 books, my characters have in fact, met, fell in love, gotten married, and now have a child. And I do think that it's possible. You don't get that. It's just like real marriage, right? You don't have that delicious, oh, my heart flutters every time I see him. But there's still really a lot of interesting, I mean, not for me. My heart fluttered every time I saw my husband. You know, even the times when he would be like coming in and he hadn't done any of the chores I'd asked him to do, fluttering all over the place. Anyway, you know, there's a lot of interest in the push and pull between, as Darcy and Georgie are, strong personalities that I think keeps it interesting. But I have to admit, I also kind of cheated because I have a secondary couple who got a chance to step up and have the chivalry romance part of it going on. Yeah.
And you have sub characters that people are very attached to.
Yeah, I mean, this is really an ensemble cast, and I think people read this series, they don't ever write to me and say, that was a very clever plot twist you did on page. They write to me and they say, I love Grandad, I love Queenie. Some characters, they have a love-hate relationship. I love Queenie, I hate Queenie, get rid of her, no, keep her. And then I think most people can say they hate Fig, which is why I love putting her in there. But so and then ZouZou and Belinda, it's a huge ensemble cast, really, which would be interesting because we're in the middle of planning out a TV series right now, and it's hope. I mean, it looks like it's going ahead. I'm not going to say, you know, who knows until you actually see it on television. But they're writing the first script at the moment, and it'd be really interesting because it is this ensemble cast, and you know they each bring something of value to the series, which I really like.
And yours are similar. You have such
Yeah,
a diverse. I mean, it's a found family.
It's a found family, and we've got different communities. We've got, so Claire, who's the priest, has her community within her Episcopal church, and Russ, who is the chief of police, has his community within the.
This is her telling me you're doing a terrible job.
I just watched on the flight over here yesterday. I watched Naked Gun 2 or whatever it is, and they have this whole gag about, please take a seat, and she grabs the chair, take a chair, and she grabs the chair and drags it across there. So yeah, one of the benefits as a writer, and I think this is also one of the things that readers really love about series, is you get to revisit that whole community, right? You get to see the people, and it's also nice because if you've got a big diverse cast, then in different stories that you tell, you can bring forward, you know, one character or another who's been fairly minor, and then all of a sudden they've got a lot to say and a lot to do in the front of the stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is Lady Georgie, book 19 now, so she's been around for quite a while, and a lot of the stories have highlighted one of these characters that's been in trouble or come to Georgie for help, and you know that's really nice because it's always within the circle rather than an outsider, which I think people really like. It's like a family reunion or a high school reunion. When you start the book, you know what you're going to get. You know what the circle looks like, and from the writer's point of view, that's really nice too, because you start knowing an awful lot about your characters. So you know what might upset them or what might scare them. Yeah.
Have you ever forgotten something about a character, their eye color, their height, something where you were just like, and you had to fix it? Or you just can't recall it?
I don't think I've ever forgotten a physical detail of a character. I forget.
Oh, don't worry, I
I
have.
just finished.
I have. Yeah, no.
Confess. Come on, confess.
Okay, come on. What did you do? What did you do,
Well, okay,
Jen?
so in one of the mystery series, I have 7 brothers because that seemed like a really good idea, and I had them all named in the Cupcake Bakery series, and I could not because I don't do a character. But okay, next question: do you do character Bibles?
Yes, of
I
course.
don't.
Well, do one for God's sakes, Jen.
I had to go on Facebook and say the first person who can name all 7 brothers gets a free book signed because I was just sitting there.
7 brides for 7 brothers. Yeah.
That's probably where I got the 7. Don't pick 7.
At the very least, you have to give them those alphabetical names, right? Adam.
No, I
What are the
didn't even
ones
do
in
that.
Seven Brides?
I didn't even do that.
Really?
So you remember everything, and you have a character
No,
Bible.
I had to do a character Bible because I realized in the first 3 books, my hero has a sister, and she went from being Janet to Janice in book 2, and then back to Janet in book 3. And I thought, oh, that's not good. And so that's the point where I learned my lesson, and started keeping a name Bible.
Yeah. That's a bad copy editor, though, because
That
that's
is.
what that's what you pay
They
a
give you your
copy editor to
slice.
find.
This-
You know, it was my first 2 books,
Yeah.
and they were.
Yeah.
I think they were being, shall we say, frugal about the amount of money they were spending on them back then.
That's hilarious.
No, I don't have a character Bible.
You
I blissfully think that I will remember everything.
And then you do.
And then it's like, and I'm going to get my maid. What was the maid's name? Which book did she appear in? And there I am going through these bloody books trying to find out what the maid's name was.
Now I feel better.
Yeah. But no, my main characters, I think, are very clear in my mind, very clear visually in my mind. Be interesting if it does come out on TV to see they did this beautiful big promo thing, which they sent out, to get the financing. And they have pictures of each of the characters. And Georgie's mother is nothing like her. So I'll have to, you have to roll with the punches and say, whoever.
Just cash the check. It's fine.
Yeah, you just you cast Olivia Colman or someone, and it'd be all right,
That would be
And,
lovely.
there are also times when you see something on the screen that when you first see the casting, you're thinking, oh no.
Yeah.
And then you watch it and you think, oh yeah, this is perfect. So I will. This has nothing to do with our books, but I watched the. Did anybody see the film version of the? It wasn't The Writers. It was the other one. See, I can't remember any names. It was this what they used to call Bonk Buster in the 1980s. It had Aiden. I'm sorry, I forgot clearly. I need to start taking ginkgo biloba. Anyway, I'll get to the pertinent part, which is, besides the fact that I can't remember anything, that the character, one of the sexy main male characters, is described as being very, athletically built and blonde, and this kind of like classic English, went to Eton kind of guy. And they hired an actor who was tall and like sexy, but in kind of a like ugly, sexy way. And I mean, it was like, and I was looking at the picture and I'm like, oh no, this is not going to work. And then I watched the series and it was amazing. He was absolutely perfect because he embodied the feel that you got when you read
You know
the
who I
book
feel
of the
that way
character.
about is Gary Oldman playing Jackson Lamb. If you're a Mick Herron fan, when we heard, my husband and I are both Mick Herron fans, and we heard that Gary Oldman was going to come out, we're like, oh, he's too, highfalutin. He can't be Jack. Oh my, he's so good. He is now. When I read the books, it's Gary Oldman.
Yeah. The worst one of those ever was Jack Reacher. It's so funny because I'm quite good friends with Lee Child, and I saw him, and he said, they're making a second movie. And I said, yeah, I heard. And I said, with the same? He said, yeah, same little guy.
Okay, but now really, to be fair, Lee and I had this conversation over a 4th of July when I was staying up with him. We were all in Wyoming together. And he said that when that book sold, there were no tall leading men in Hollywood. And therefore, Tom Cruise was the only reasonable candidate because he had the physicality and so forth.
And Lee was very gracious about that. He never spoke publicly in any way about
No.
it. But honestly, if you have not seen the Jack Reacher series on Amazon Prime?
Alan Richardson. But here's the thing: if you've actually, I'm going to have a romanticy moment here. Okay, if you have actually seen Alan Richardson when he had sex with Neely, she had to be on top because he would have crushed her. So in a way, Tom Cruise was more
what
believable.
a
Fun way to die.
Never give me the microphone.
We're gonna sign up for going that way. Like, that's it. Crush me, Alan Richardson.
I'm taking notes from one of
This
my
is
rom-coms.
quite out of hand. This,
Going live to like thousands of
yes,
people.
it is.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no!
all over the world. Yeah,
Of course it is.
it will be streamed by 2,000 at least. Actually, I guarantee. Yeah. But,
Well, at least the other Reds are watching it. We know that.
yeah. Anyway, should we get back to the books
Yeah,
we're
what were
supposed to
we
be talking about?
I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Yes, back to it. Okay. Now that you're, I want to talk about something that I feel writers of long-running series get.
Yeah.
Rhys probably not,
Yeah.
because she remembers everything too. But series fatigue. Have you ever written a series, this one, different one, where you just get into the book and you're just like, been there, done that?
I actually promised myself if I sat down and thought, oh God, I've got to write another Molly book, I would stop right then. Because I have to be really, if I'm not excited about being there, you're not going to be excited to read it. And so, I think I'm very lucky because, as some of you know, I do the Molly Murphy series with my daughter Claire, who's sitting over there.
Hi, Claire.
And they're quite meaty, historical, true history New York. And then these are much more fun and light and everything. And then I do these big historical novels, which are quite different. So each time I come to each one, I come very fresh, like, oh, I can't wait to get back to Georgie. And, this is book 19, and I've just signed a new contract for book through 21, so we'll keep going.
Well done.
The big
So that's a no.
the big problem with this series is we're getting closer and closer to World War II.
What year are we at now? I was actually wondering that.
The one I'm writing at this moment is 37. This one's 30, yeah, this one's earlier 37, actually, yeah.
1937.
And so I have to ask myself, what happens when we get to World War II? Because how can you be light and funny about a time that is... I mean, when I think about Hogan's Heroes, that was so distasteful to me that you could make a joke about a prison camp. Because and so would Darcy obviously would be called away to do horrible espionage things in Europe, and I don't think I can handle that. So, I don't
You're
know.
going to have to write one a month.
Yeah,
So there's
yeah,
12
right,
months
yeah,
in
yes,
1938
yes,
and 12
yeah.
months.
So, dear readers, you remember that the last book finished on Thursday.
Exactly.
But you've got the whole coronation of George to go
it's
through. Now
actually
you
in
could
the book.
actually milk that.
At this very moment, I have just put a crown on the head of the Queen in a practice. Yeah.
Okay.
So the next book is going to be called To Crown It All.
Oh.
And Georgie finds herself in the role of one of the maids of honor at the coronation, because the daughter of an earl who was supposed to be doing it has just fallen in a point-to-point race and broken her ankle. So
How convenient.
Georgie is roped in. And I mean, you know how Georgie worries about tripping over and doing things. Carrying the Queen's train all through the Abbey is sort of her biggest nightmare, but she can't say no. So
You vaulted ahead 6 months. Shame on you.
well, I thought it had a few months. Yes, all right.
Well,
All right.
right.
Okay.
You're just going to have to
But then she
slow
runs
down.
into, then you've got the baby problem, which we started out
Yeah.
talking about
But
this, which
by
is...
this book, we
Yes.
now have a nanny. In the book
Good,
that's sitting here, there might be a nanny or there might not. Or there might be the nanny from hell.
So I have a baby in this, and when my characters got pregnant, I loved the whole storyline. It was like I really wanted to write about this, and they're a relatively older couple, and how are they dealing with it? And I didn't think ahead to then there's actually going to be a baby, and about 50% of the notes when I turned in the first copy of the manuscript to my agent and editor, I swear to God, 50% of the notes were about the baby. Like, who's taking care of the baby? Where's the is the baby being exposed to danger? The baby can't be exposed to danger. And they have a dog too. So then I was having who's taking care of the dog? It's like, I thought, could I make it like Peter Pan and the dog could take
Nana,
care of
yeah,
the baby.
Nana,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah,
really
yeah,
need to
yeah,
do.
yeah.
Exactly. Two birds with one stone.
But what about series fatigue? Anything?
I have, yeah. And so I'm actually taking a leaf from Rhys's book right now. I am working on a non-mystery women's fiction about 3 generations of a family on the New England coast, because I felt the same way that you did. Is I want to come to writing about Russ and Claire and Miller's Kill and all of their friends with this real enthusiasm. You know, I want to dig into whatever social issue I'm writing about. I want to dig into their lives. And when I was finishing up this book, I love this book. I'm actually very proud of it. But I was also feeling like I need a break. I need a break. So I'm doing something different. And then I think the next leaf I'm going to take for your book is to set things in places like the south of France, so I can take trips for research. I mean, this would be my recommendation to anybody who is thinking of starting a mystery series. Do not set your mystery series in an economically depressed, cold and wintry place in upstate New York, because that may be where my family comes from, but it's not like prime vacation area. I'm going to tell you that.
I'm going to say a few words. The Tuscan Child, the Venice Sketchbook, Mrs. Endicott's Splendid Adventure. All nice places to visit.
And Rhys does go. Yeah, she's always
get
traveling.
this in the chat that we have. And she's like, well, John and I are getting ready to go off to Venice now. And I'm like, damn.
I have researched.
And I was in those of you who read Mrs. Endicott, she goes to the south of France to a little town which is really going to be Cassis. It's I've called it something different because obviously, yes, you can hold it up and wave it at people if you like. Yeah, because horrible things happened in it, and I didn't want to have a real town, but I had to do my research in Cassis, so we stayed at this really lovely Airbnb, and we had to research every little bistro, and there's some really nice vineyards just outside the town. It was grueling, but I did it.
This is the hardest working author in America, you guys. This is sending herself to the south of France for your reading pleasure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
The sacrifice.
someone has to do it.
So since we're talking about that, one thing, you're talking about a 3-generational women's fiction. You are the queen of how many different times can we cram into one book?
Yeah, a lot of my books are in 1 or 2 or 3 time zones. The one that's coming out next summer, which is going to be set mainly on the Isle of Skye in Scotland, is set in 1960, I forget, 65. And it also features a book written by somebody else, which I have written as somebody else in a style that's not normally their own. And that was about 1932. And then we have another story that's in 1901. So it was a little bit of a challenge to do. Let's just put it that way.
And you're not an outliner.
I don't outline. No.
It's good to challenge yourself, though.
Yeah,
I feel like with every new book you want to try something a little different.
Well, I can tell you the one I've just proposed now to my editor is set in the present and in 1462 and with a little bit in the 1800s. Oh my God. Now, how's that for a challenge?
Whoa. Now, when you're doing these multiples, do you, because I'm thinking of Julia's book that she's plotting out, you have more than just a main because you have generational mains.
Yeah.
So how hard is it? Because I write one main. I don't think I've ever jumped around. Maybe point of view. How hard is it to give them each the attention that they need to plot that out, plan it? Oh, I'm sorry, you don't plot. No, to wake up in the morning and just know that it's supposed to be a chapter about that character. Like, seriously,
I have to say, so I started out with the Russ and Claire series with 2 main characters, and I've always liked broader point of view characters. I have one book, I think it was one was a soldier that has 8 point of view characters, and it's got a weird. Rhys and I both like fooling around with time as a structure. I find it challenging. I like setting things up in a way that I think it's going to play peekaboo with the reader. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to show you a little bit of this time, then we're going to look at this
Yeah.
time, then another time. And then if you trust me, when we get to the end, everything is going to be revealed. Now, interestingly, At Midnight Comes the Cry is one of my most straightforward books, but my editor first was a little doubtful about the time span because it takes place during Lent, which is, no, sorry, wrong. I did a book that took place during
Yeah,
Lent.
no.
This takes place during Advent.
Advent, yeah.
And so the book is divided into 4 sections, each one starting with the first, second, third, or fourth Sunday of Advent. And my editor was like, he was worried that it was like taking too long. And I said, no, I think that this is going to work, and it's going to develop, and the plot is going to keep rolling over it. But I loved the
Actually,
structure of that.
When you read it, it's very much on the edge of your seat. Let's turn the page. You don't get a feeling of time at all. I don't think. Yeah. Well, I blurbed it for you. Remember? Yeah. No,
She got a
I
preview.
really think this is one of those where you are worrying about the characters a lot of the book, and also it's cold.
It's very cold.
Yeah.
Now, Rhys, what about you? How do you maintain so many different characters?
Well, when I did The Tuscan Child, which was the first one I did in 2 time periods, I wrote the whole of Hugo's story, and then I wrote the whole of Joanna's story, and then I worked out how to put them together so that we learned this, but we didn't learn that, so each one peeled back a tiny bit of the other story. Then I had to come to the time, but how do I put them together? So we have a very long hall at home. So I put all of the Hugo story all the way down the hall, and then I stood there with the Joanna chapters going, oh, we need to know that here. We should find this here. Luckily, nobody opened a door and had a major draft. But that was the only way I could think of doing it, to make it was. I needed visually to see where it all was. So
so like a whiteboard crime.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when it got to the Venice sketchbook, which was the same sort of thing, it was more obvious where things should happen. So I don't think I did that to the same degree. And now if I get to 1463, I'm not sure how I'm going to put that in. We'll find out when I start to
And
write.
where are we going to do our research for the 1463?
It's a convent in England that has since was destroyed in the War of the Roses. And there is a house called something Priory on the grounds of the convent, and in the present we are in the fabulous, valuable library there, and we found a book that was written by one of the nuns. So
I love books
another
based
book
about books.
one, you
Yes,
see?
I love that.
Yeah. It won't be a magic book though. Well, it could be. Oh, no, actually, it could be. Great idea. Yeah. Yeah.
Go with it.
I'll call my editor and say, that proposal I gave you. I forgot to mention that the book actually is a magic book, and
And we can travel forward in it.
Fantasy is big. Fantasy is big.
Yeah. And
Romantasy.
what's
I
more-
want to see her do that.
what's more, it turns into a cat in the middle of the book.
There you go. I wonder where she got that.
I wonder where she gets that from.
I was one of my books I was writing when like vampires, I think it was after Twilight came out, and suddenly vampires were everywhere.
Yeah.
And my husband, God rest his soul, said, maybe you should make Russ, that's the police chief, a vampire. I'm like, no, I'm not turning my main character into a vampire.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's another question for you. How much do you follow the market? And not because you're both very individual, creative, and brilliant, but how much are you paying attention to the market when you're writing?
I would say on the whole, every book I've written is a book I want to read, but it's not on the shelf yet. So I write it to put it on the shelf.
So you write
The
for
only
you.
time I was very conscious of the market was when I came out with a book called The Paris Assignment. And it happened to come out at the same time as The Paris Agent, The Paris Daughter, The Paris this. And it did not sell as well as the others, I think because just everybody said, we're fed up with Paris in World War II. And that's when, I learned after the fact that it was probably not I didn't want to call it the Paris anything. It was my marketing people who insisted on calling it. But I only a part of the book takes place in Paris, but they thought that was the strong part. And looking back, I should have stuck to my guns and called it what I wanted to call it.
Marketing always wins, because
Yeah.
I also have a Paris book that was supposed to be called something else.
Yeah, well,
So, Barbara, bookseller, dearest, how's Paris doing?
Paris does really well here in the spring. John, who has full control of this section behind Rhys,
Yeah.
papers it with books set in Paris and photos of the Eiffel Tower and whatever. And so they do really well. I have to agree with Rhys that I think maybe Prague, I think Paris is, and Paris in World War II in particular. Cara Black will be here with yet another World War II or post-World War II
Huguette,
Paris
yes,
book.
yeah.
Huguette, which I'm on December 7th, and I'm really looking forward to it because it's kind of a prelude to the whole Aimé Leduc series.
Yeah.
But in fact, there were other theaters of the war in other fabulous cities that kind of get neglected.
Yeah.
But
that's
I remember in your book, there was a big Australian thread
half
in
the
that
book
book.
took place in Australia. That's-
Right. And
My first title was The Island of Lost Boys, which I think was I liked that much better, but they got shot down. I should have stuck to it,
I don't know if you win that battle.
No.
Well, it's very hard. For those of you who are wondering why Rhys didn't win the battle, here's how it works. The author owns the copyright to the words. The publisher gets to do the cover art and the title and the design, and they own the copyright to all of that. So authors can suggest or be consulted, but ultimately the publisher can call a book whatever they want. And they tend to do market research. Laughably often they call it data research, and I often think, that's just an excuse for whatever the art department thought was clever.
And for my big books, it's young Amazon tech guys, who have no feel for publishing at all. It's like,
Well, but if they look at data, they would see that Paris
Yeah.
gets an enormous hit.
Yeah.
But the truth is that, it could be more exciting and would be more exciting if, in fact, you pick some other city.
Yeah.
Just because it's overdone.
my one, Mrs. Endicott was one I just told her. I said, I'm not changing this title, so that's that.
Good for you.
Yeah. I mean, I conceived the title with everything happening at the same time, and I knew exactly what I wanted. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. With ours, it was my title was The Gap Year, because it was the main character. It was her revisiting her gap year.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great. And then sales
Yeah.
and marketing was like, no, that's a little bougie. People think you're very highfalutin if you have a gap
Yeah.
year. And I'm like, it's a working gap. Like, I even wrote that she's poor. And I'm
Like
Yeah.
going to Paris is not bougie. I mean,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
it's a working gap.
oh, but I love that title. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's true. I don't know if people do.
Yeah, I mean,
gap
the
years
fact
so much
that
anymore.
everything happens in Tuscany has nothing to do with the fact that you called it Paris is always a good idea,
Yeah. and they're in Paris for like a chapter.
I know, yeah.
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 But anyway,
Yeah.
I feel you, Rhys.
Yeah. Should we ask some questions? I'll have some questions.
Yeah.
do you think?
How are we
Well,
doing
yeah.
time wise? Should we go to the audience now?
Yeah.
I would like to point out that I am totally superfluous to this conversation. I could have been doing some work in the back. Jen, who, was looking panicked, is actually one of the best hosts that I know. She's always full of questions
Yeah.
and really funny. So here I am sitting here where the camera can't even see me. Hello, I'll raise a hand. I think
hand will
questions.
rise out of
right.
nowhere.
I know, it's too funny. I think that questions would be a really good idea. But let me ask you, Jen, if you would repeat the question so that the virtual audience
Yeah.
can hear it.
Yeah.
Actually, I
Questions?
can even be a runner.
Yeah.
Who's got a question?
Oh.
Who's got a question?
Yeah.
I will hand you the mic.
Yeah.
This is really more of a comment and a validation for Julia. Thank you both, ladies. I really appreciate this very much. But I'm a lifelong downstate New Yorker, and 6 years ago, my husband and I relocated to Saratoga Springs, about half an hour from Greenwich, which I had to learn how to say Greenwich instead of Greenwich. And I've been to the tractor parade, so I didn't know it was going to be in this book. So I'm sitting here giggling. And when I told my friends from downstate New York that I was going to a tractor parade for Christmas, they were like, "You've turned over every trace of what we ever knew about you." So it is cold.
But that
it's-
tractor
it's-
parade is the
a
bomb.
hoot.
It is
It's
awesome.
A hoot. It's something to see. So I just really got a big kick out of that. So I'm very much looking forward to this and to your book as well, Rhys. Thank you.
Next question. Next question. Anybody?
I did not expect somebody who's been to the Greenwich Tractor Parade in this crowd. Honestly, that's a big one.
You never know in Arizona who
No,
you're going
we're
to get.
a wide, diverse group. Any other questions? Because then I'm going to put him back in the hot seat. If not,
Yeah.
okay.
No,
Oh, Claire's got one.
On behalf of your editor, how do you keep the baby cold? I mean, warm. How do you keep
how
the
do I
baby
keep the
from
baby
getting
cold?
No, this is me
This is
because
for
it's cold.
Julia.
It's
Yeah,
cold
how do you
where
keep
I
the
am.
baby from frostbite?
The
you
baby
know?
is well wrapped up and wearing a bunting at all times. And, actually, I think I may have underestimated a little bit. So my oldest daughter just had her first child, so my first grandchild, very exciting, in October. And she's started, going out walking with him. She lives in the countryside in Maine, as I do, and not too near me, though. But anyway, and she sends pictures, and it's like, find the baby, because it's like, is she wearing like a chest shield, like a Kevlar vest or something? Like Kevlar vest? No, there's a baby underneath there, but the baby is buried in all of these layers, swaddled up the wazoo. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So what's worse to put in a book, a baby or a dog? I'm not worse.
A
We love
baby.
them all,
I think a baby is more difficult because like it's easier to find. Well, no.
Oh, yeah. And one of my Molly Murphy books, The City of Darkness and Light, was when Molly goes to Paris. Here, Paris again. And the baby, she's sent there because her house was bombed by the mafia in New York. And he sends her to her friends in Paris. And she gets there only to find they're not there. And she doesn't know where they are. And she has a brand new baby at this stage. And so really she was nursing every 4 hours and everything. So writing that book was like, damn, she's got to get back again now, No.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I
So
had
baby.
Claire, Claire actually stopped breastfeeding at 8 months.
Yeah.
And just coincidentally, this book happens when the baby is 8 months old. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about that part.
Yeah.
That was very wise.
Going in.
Very
Right. I
wise.
mean, recommended to go for at least a year. Just going to say there, but yeah, no, she gave it up early.
Well, actually, Lady Georgie is stopping during this book because she's nursing at the beginning, but he's got quite a few teeth. And so she decides it's more for her comfort than for his that she's doing it. So when the nanny comes, she's able to stop.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got to check up on the nanny.
Yeah.
And then the secret is like you either need to have great childcare or like boarding school. I'm going to say boarding school is in the young man's future, or you've got. So what I did, don't think it's giving anything away because you'll see it in the next Russ and Claire book. I time jumped ahead at the very end of the book because I thought I am not dealing with another baby for investigations again. So by the end of the book, we've done a little time jump, and it is like 4 or 5 years ahead, and baby is in kindergarten. And you know what? This is going to be a kindergarten that has before and after care, and maybe nighttime care too. I'm not sure.
Or a nanny
yeah.
for 5-year-olds. So what is next for both of you? Now this is out. You're crushing it. What's your next year look like?
Well, the next book that comes out is the next one with Claire, and it's called Vanished in the Crowd. And I think it's one of the best in the series because it deals a lot with the suffrage movement and the whole concept of women being taken seriously, a woman scientist having to publish her papers in her husband's name, all this sort of thing. So we get a really good feel for women trying against all odds to make themselves be taken seriously. And it deals with a real parade in New York City that happened, the Hudson-Fulton parade that happened in 1909, and these women on a float in the parade trying to make a statement.
Do you happen to remember the date in March?
Sorry?
Do you happen to remember the date in March?
Oh, Yeah, Claire, look it up for you.
Well,
yeah,
then
yeah.
we're looking at the Sunday before whatever
Yeah,
date it
we'll
is.
do a
Rhys and I
Sunday.
decided
Yeah,
it
we'll
would
do a
be a
Sunday,
good
yeah.
Sunday afternoon kind of a
Yeah.
book lunch.
I think it was something like the 16th, was it? Yeah. Anyway, that comes out next, and then in the summer, in August, I think, From Sea to Sky comes out, and then in next November will be To Crown It All, which obviously will have
Georgie
a
20. The 20th.
Yeah, yeah, book 20. We'll have a
We gotta have a
huge-
party.
We'll have a big party. Big party. Yeah.
tiaras?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, we'll do a tiara party. That'll be fun. Yeah.
I have one. I'm just saying. Yes, much better.
Yeah.
Everybody
so
needs
next
to sparkle.
November, everybody, tiara party.
Get your tiaras
Noted.
ready.
And
Noted.
I will give a prize for the best tiara.
Game on. What about you, Julia?
So I am working on the non-mystery book, which has got the working title of Permission to Come Aboard. And because it's a family of naval people and sailors. And then my editor has started making some muttering noises about the next Russ and Claire. So I need to turn in a proposal for the next Russ and Claire. But my goal is, dear readers, to produce a book, have a book in the bookstore less than 5 years apart. I feel like that would be a big step forward for my career. Don't you think, ladies?
Yeah, we will keep nagging until you get
100%. We're good at
They
that.
do. They actually do. They send me little emails. Are you working?
Okay, so Jen is being a very generous host tonight, and in October we did the book launch for Witches of a Dubious Origin, which was something of a departure for Jen, and we sold over 100 copies, so we had to get lots more in.
This is such a fun book. I can
It
recommend it.
really is. So if you're looking for something fun to read over the holidays, do not pass up this opportunity to get yourself a signed copy. But Jen, who is prolific, has another book coming out in the winter, February. All right, so tell us about that.
It's a library lover's mystery for those who read the. Thank you. For those who read those, and it's hot pink, which I don't know why that makes me excited, but the cover is hot pink. Why is that exciting?
February?
Yeah,
Hot pink
there
is
you go.
Valentine's color.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, sales and marketing. But it's called Booking for Trouble. It may or may not be one of the last ones. We're trying to figure it out. And then in May I have a rom-com coming out called The Summer Share, and then in October, I have the next called Witches of Questionable Intent. So it's a mystery, rom-com, fantasy, queen of all genre. I will wear my tiara.
Wait a minute. Where is the women's
for
fiction
trouble.
next year?
The women's fiction is, it's set in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and it's called The Summer Share.
Oh, and is that the rom-com as well? or
Yeah,
that-
that's the same.
So you're combining both of those. This
And did you have to go to the Outer Banks of North Carolina to do research?
Didn't have to, sadly, because when I was a kid, this was my parents' place to take us. So I look at my photo albums when I was a cute little baby, and it's. I know. One of my earliest formative memories, because my mom was like, get in the van, because I grew up in Connecticut, so I understand the cold winter. And we would drive down to the Carolinas. That was where my parents eloped, so it was their, place. But I remember climbing the Hatteras Lighthouse as a kid. Yeah, and it was, my brother was afraid to do it, so. Anyway. But anyway, so I didn't have to go because memories. But the hard thing is, like any place, it changes. So it's hard to write a contemporary. Like I started Google Earthing, the streets and the beaches and the things that I remembered. And it's like, well, what happened to the cute little, and now it's these, McMansions, and, Anyway, we will reserve judgment, but ew. But anyway.
Yeah. Do we have any more questions before we finish? I'd like to tell a story about when I sit on these chairs, I always feel sort of rather trapped. Do you feel that way on a...
Mine swivels,
Oh, yeah.
which I feel gives me
Mine
a lot
does
more
not.
freedom.
Oh,
and I
you got
keep
the fancy one.
and
okay.
I'm
Can I
looking
read
over at
from
the
this? Are you
cookies
gonna
every
share
once
that?
in a
Oh,
while.
Do you want me
'cause
to read it?
I have my eye on
share,
this cookie.
share that scene, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I wanted to read the first. I don't often read from my books, but so this story began when I looked out of the blue bedroom window at the front of the house on a brisk morning to see an ancient taxicab coming up the driveway. As I watched, it disgorged a tall elderly woman. She looked around with an expression so haughty and disproving that I concluded she had to be at least a Russian Grand Duchess, maybe sent to me by my friend ZouZou, who was more formally known as Princess Samanska. I hastily patted my hair into place, smoothed down my skirt, and hurried down the stairs to greet her myself. I opened the front door just as she was about to knock. "Hello," I said. The expression became even more disproving. "Are all the servants in this house allowed to be so familiar with arriving guests and to be dressed in such an inappropriate manner?" she asked, in a voice that could cut glass. "I wish to speak with Lady Georgiana. Please go and inform her that I have arrived." I noticed she was wearing a grey cape over a grey skirt, with a grey pillbox hat on her head, matching the grey hair and grey face. Only the eyes were a darker shade of steel. Golly, I thought, was I supposed to know she was coming? Had Darcy or one of the servants forgotten to pass along a message that a person of considerable importance was about to land on my doorstep? "I am Lady Georgiana," she said. I said, "Please do come in." At this she raised an eyebrow. "Your sister-in-law, Her Grace the Duchess, told me that this was a lax household, but I had no idea that the lady of the house had to open her own front door. I just happened to see the cab draw up from the upstairs window, so I came down to greet you," I said. "So you know Fig, do you?" "Her Grace Hilda, Duchess of Rannoch? Yes, I am familiar with her. A wonderful woman, salt of the earth." Anyone who could describe Fig as a wonderful woman was immediately suspect in my view. "And may one know your name?" The eyebrow arched again. "You mean you are not expecting me? Her sister-in-law, Her Grace the Duchess, told me she was going to write to you announcing my arrival. Clearly the post office is not what it was. Or maybe storms in Scotland have stranded the postal van again. I am your new nanny, Nanny Hardbottle." I think my jaw dropped open and somehow I was unable to close it. So that will be a cross to bear in this book, I can tell you.
I love it so much.
That may be the best character name. I think you mentioned that in one of our blogs
Yeah,
about
Hardbottle.
characters,
I do love
but
playing
Nanny
with
Hardbottle.
And I have one thing for Rhys. I want you to be hired by the Calm app so you can just read me to bed at night because your voice is lovely. I was just like, oh,
I'll have
this
to
would be
change
great.
my name to Alan Sklar.
I'll take it. I like it.
So we've come. God, can I stand up? Yes, I made it. Right. It's getting harder as I get older to rise from a low sitting position, but here I am. We've come to the point where I would like to give away a book to thank all of you for coming tonight. And as it happens, Malice at the Palace, which is a title you did, Peter James has written this extraordinary book for Superintendent Roy Grace of the Brighton Police. Peter became acquainted with Queen Camilla, who invited him, actually commanded him to write a book set in Buckingham Palace, or at least the mystery has to be in Buckingham Palace. So he has contrived a really amazing book that starts out with Queen Camilla on the royal train heading to Brighton. The train is derailed. Everybody moves out, and as they exit from the tunnel, a sniper strikes. So what I love about this book, aside from the fact that it's a real tour of Buckingham Palace and what goes on there, is the multitudinous policing agencies in Britain. Those of you who might watch British crime, you might think but we have the railroad police, we have the royal household, we have the Met who wants to take it away, we have the various local constabularies, I can't even remember. And it's like a jurisdictional nightmare. But for those of you who really like Lady Georgie, this is the most inside book that I have read. Anyway, this is my advanced reading copy. And so we're going to use numbers to give it away. John. 17. Thank you. I love John. He always enunciates so I can hear what number it is. So, Rhys, since this is a book... No. That's how many we have to choose from. I'm so sorry. No, that's how many. Oh dear. Now what do we do? Do we just give it to 17?
I will choose number 17.
Okay, we'll make it official. I apologize. I should have made it clear that the number he was calling out was the number of slips that we gave away. But we'll be happy to give you this book. We do. In fact, that person, that very person. All right. So we will give you. It's called The Hawk is Dead. Now I don't know if any of you watch BritBox, but if you do, the Superintendent Roy Gray's series is on it, and it's absolutely wonderful. And the actor who plays Superintendent Grace is one of my very favorites. And as I said to Peter, he's one of those people, you know, you read about not only facial recognition, but gait recognition, how people walk, that you can't fool the camera. The actor, whose name is escaping me, I think his name is John something, who plays Superintendent Grace, has the most distinctive walk. I mean, it's absolutely, you know, the way he moves is extraordinary. Have you seen it? He has one of those that's kind of from the hip and he kind of glides, you know, in a way that very loose knee joints. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but whatever he's doing, you can always tell it's him. Anyhow, thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you all for coming. And I especially thank Jen, who completely unrehearsed and unprepared did a perfectly wonderful job, as she always does. Right. So this is the moment in which we fold up the chairs and move them against